Today, ice will be clunked.
Clunked.
Welcome back to the Ice Clinking Podcast.
We're actually going to talk about so much ice today.
Oh my gosh.
Because
Ice Age.
today, I have titled our episode Off the Walls.
Whoop whoop.
Because we're going back in time.
And we're wearing Vans.
And we're wearing Vans off the wall. No, we're going back. We're going to be talking about something so inherently human. Something so wired, so deep in our systems, it's been around since the dawn of our liminal existence.
Ooh. Good
Yes,
word.
yes. More specifically, we're going to be talking about early humans and our very first methods of visual communication. Our very first canvas, if you will, rock art.
Yeah. I thought you were just going to say walls.
Like, that's probably more accurate. We're going to be bouncing around between a few time periods long, long ago. I'd like to preface this whole episode by saying this is a very blanket, like there's so many interesting things. I got way deep into Google Arts and Culture because they had like some really cool deep dives into like all of these different caving systems and rock systems like throughout the entire Earth. And there's no way I could fit all that into an hour while giving everything the right, oomph that it deserves.
So this is like an overview.
This is like a good starting off point.
Yes.
And then like we could have an off the walls series.
I would love.
Oh my god, like once a month. Like,
That'd
hey
be
guys,
so
check out this
cute.
off the
Hey guys,
wall
let's
moment.
get ancient.
To start our little blanket episode of a journey through wall art throughout time, I want to blast us back 37,000 years ago, roughly.
Is that fucking...
We have visual slides, by the way. You're welcome to tune in on YouTube. It is lore accurate. It is we're in the Aurignacian period, and I had to look up how to say that word and so many other words in this episode, so I apologize. I'm trying my very best if I get things wrong. During the Aurignacian period, it is pretty chilly because the last ice age is raging on, which means everything is covered in ice and snow, and there's glaciers everywhere, and Scrat is running around chasing his acorn, which is lore and biblically accurate. So I included him in the slideshow. An ice sheet nearly 2 miles thick is covering most of northern Europe. Early humans during this time were hunter-gatherers focused mainly on pure survival and gathering like material resources to survive in inhospitable conditions. So we are just survival mode.
Mm-hmm.
So they were focusing only on survival. They were hunting reindeer and other large fauna like bison, and they faced predators like wolves, panthers, and lions, which is nutso to think about.
In the ice?
Yeah,
In the
apparently.
ice, they're like
not lions like I'm thinking of right now. That
like
was
a
so silly of me.
saber-tooth, like
A full African lion.
I was like, an African.
in southern France.
you're like, wait, a tiger?
I was like, a Black Panther.
Tigers, lions, and bears. Oh
Oh
my.
my, oh my. In southern France, nearby a beautiful natural arch of limestone 160 feet high, was what we now call the Chauvet Cave. This cave system is a line of chambers spanning 820 feet long, and it provided refuge for humans as well as large predators like bears. So humanity and their predators were like kind of roommates.
And they were roommates.
And they were roommates.
That's me and Tegan for real.
Humans would scuttle and climb every corner of the cave system with torches to light their way, which is like nuts to think about because when you think about like the entire outside world just being like chaos of wind and ice and uninhabitable, like I can imagine it's really quiet but also really loud because of all of that stuff going on and all the action. And then you come in this cave and it's kind of just silent and dark and there are torches and there's little like blip 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 like with
That's crazy.
like it's just like two different realms, which is really crazy to think about. So that was like their way of life.
I have a question.
Yes.
What stage of their evolution were they in right now? What were they looking like?
It's funny you should ask that because I recently visited the American Museum of Natural History.
Oh my
and saw
God. Hit us with it.
mad replicas of humans. They had some forehead ridges. Let me tell you what.
Let me tell you what.
Where are those guys?
I was reading that like Neanderthals and like modern day Homo sapiens sort of overlapped for a while and they were like living together. So this
they
might be
interbred.
kind of like that time.
I was just nerded out on you. So there was actually at
No,
one
tell
point,
me, tell
three
me.
different like primitive humans living at the same time. One of them kind of before the Neanderthals and the Homo sapiens that
I think that was these
went
guys.
extinct first. What's their name though?
I forgot to take
Homo
their names.
O.
Yeah.
Homo O.
Yeah.
They were actually at some point more advanced, from what I've read, than Homo sapiens and Neanderthals at the same time. And they went extinct first, though, because they were kind of like pushed out of like other circles. And yeah.
There was also like
they
just
were voted
a small version.
Mm-hmm.
They're those guys. I don't know how they made it at all.
No, not the small ones.
They're not. I'm thinking of a separate.
Separate
also
ones?
a homo brand. But
Little
there was
guys.
like humans that are just like half of our size that existed.
Halflings.
Cave and rock paintings were made from different pigments, from manganese oxide for black, from gypsum for white, limonite, and hematite. They also had like red ochre, yellow ochre, things like that.
Wow.
These pigments were binded with some type of liquid to create a paint-like texture, like what we know of to be paint, which is, either like thicker, but still viscous, or like watery and like can be spread around with a tool. This could either be like water as a binder, sometimes like urine, sometimes blood. Like it was kind of, they were working with what they had.
It's really cool.
Or they applied the powder itself like with their hands and to create like a chalk-like texture.
How are these people figuring all that out?
Somebody licked the wall and was like, "I'm getting notes of urine."
No,
stale though, stale urine.
People who painted this.
I thought you meant the archaeologists.
Licking the walls.
Who figured out how to make the paint? They figured out fire, paint, hunting.
They must have been so bored without YouTube shorts.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, I want to know how they even like one guy just started drawing on the walls and they were like, "What is Kevin doing?"
They're like, huh.
Yeah.
Huh.
It's crazy. So one source I actually read said that people might have even like utilized tubes or like makeshift tools to like spray the paint onto the wall to create like the hand pressings, like it's a stencil, so they would put their hand up and then like spray through their mouth with the paint to like leave that negative space handprint.
Hold on, let me put this in my mouth.
That's what
My urine paint.
my urine paint. Yeah. So, cave paintings specifically.
They're like really good.
Yeah, cave paintings like these found in the Chauvet Cave were particularly striking because they were incorporated into the organic shapes and folds of the cave walls. So, like, the early humans, the homos, if you will, they would find creatures like within the topography of the wall and then accentuate it with human touch. So, like, there could be like drip marks in the cave that look like a mammoth or something, and they would like only highlight what needed to be highlighted to render that animal, which is cool because we still use shape language exercises like that, like in like character design and stuff like. So they were doing
sick.
They were doing it all the way back then. Sometimes they were also preparing the painting ground by like scraping away the texture of the wall first. So it was a really like. It wasn't just I put chalk on wall. It was like, I want to make this image, so I'm going to prepare the surface first. I'm going to prepare the paint, and then we're going to... Like, it was a whole process, which is just so weird to think of early humans doing that.
They had an art practice.
They really, truly did.
Wait.
And these...
Why are you guys creating with no profit incentive?
Right? What's the point? Our whole bit is that these people don't get capitalism. And that's so fucking funny to me.
What do you mean? Cave paintings aren't on Redbubble? They are. I was doing research and they were like, buy this mug with cave drawing. And I was like, maybe I will, but also that's crazy.
But like now I want one. Unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately.
You got me.
You got me.
And these images are like really involved and crazy. Like when you look at them, there's like... There are these really striking herds of animals. Like, it's not just one animal. There's like a pack mentality of animals running together in very elaborate compositions throughout an entire gigantic wall. And these early artists were also using like perspective, which is crazy. Like in some images, you can see like they are placing legs behind one another in space, which is like, we look at it and we're like, yeah, duh. But it's like a whole extra step to go from like relative like like outline
shapes
to actually it shows that they were like really observing and studying like the shape and how like the position of the animals, and it was really cool. There are over 1,000 images in the Chauvet Caves and over 400 depictions of animals. A lot of these animals were fellow predators like lions, bears, wolves, and leopards, but there were also horses, mammoths, and rhinos. There's only one bird.
Oh my God. Owl.
There's one bird, an owl, with his head twisted 180 degrees, which is another example of like humans observing animal
They
behavior.
were like, oh shit, he
Wow.
neck do that.
Yeah, they were like, that's kind of fucking weird.
It's so cool. This is so cool.
That's awesome. I love it.
Because they had no prior knowledge, too.
Right.
Like, I guess they had like oral history and stuff in the way that they did. But they didn't have like books or Wikipedia or like anything to say, oh yeah, owls totally can twist their neck 180 degrees. They were like,
they were like, look, that's an owl.
they had to
and he
go
did
out
that.
and like document that themselves.
Right.
And so this was the earliest way that they could do that. And they were like, it shows that humans have always been like curious and wanting to like document.
What year were these?
This was around like 40,000 years ago.
40,000 years ago.
Our Ignatian.
Makes me a little emotional. I don't know. Like, just it's inside thoughts. Like I don't know how to explain. Like, you still care about things like art. You still care about your family and love and those, and you're still curious about the world. But at the end of the day, you're not thinking about climate change. You're thinking about the tiger.
Well, you have pressing issues that you're going to need to
Pressing
think
issues.
about.
There's a panther.
There's literally a panther there.
My cousin saw him 5 minutes ago. He's coming. You know,
You were living with him.
He's
in
around.
the cave. You guys are roomies, actually,
Yeah.
and he's after you.
Yeah.
That's so insane.
Like people in the jungle that live there now. Snakes, spiders,
Well, I think
giant
that
mosquitoes.
like I have something about this later, but it's like this is so cool because it's the documentation of like how humans were part of a more balanced ecological system back then, whereas like now it's like all messed up. Like part of me is like I yearn
For the caves.
Like I yearn for the cave. I yearn for a simple
I
wish it was like I wish I didn't have anxiety over like
Yeah.
being a modern person with what wants and dreams. Like give me
Yeah.
more pressing issues. Like that
Tiger.
would somehow erase most of my anxiety. Is where I'm
Right.
like I only have this one thing to worry about, and that is
Yeah.
the tiger that's about to kill me.
Because by making ourselves the apex predator and making ourselves like God on earth.
How are we the apex predator? By
That's
the
what
way,
I'm saying. I'm a soft little squishy weirdo. If I fell too hard, I'd be done for.
yeah.
we have no talons, no sharp teeth.
If you dropped me in the Amazon.
Done.
If you set me loose on a swamp tour in the Everglades, there's like a 50-50 chance I'm not coming back.
There's like a 1% chance I'm coming back. If you drop me in the Amazon, what the fuck am I gonna do?
The thing
Run?
is, I learned
Climb? Know what to eat? No, I'm gonna find the first mushroom I see, eat it, and hope I die. I have no survival instinct. I don't care.
the thing that I learned in my anthropology class is that humans now and early humans can only survive in groups.
Yes.
So we were never meant to. We cannot be apex predators by ourselves at all.
We're
We
like
would die.
wolves. Okay, so yeah, a lot of these scenes are super naturalistic. And it's cool because it shows, like we talked about, like humans observing not only animal features and animal physical like attributes, but it shows how they behave in the wild. So like this rhino picture right here shows like two rhinos facing off for dominance as they would in the wild. So it shows that people are watching and taking in dynamics between species and internal, like
And their
between the
behaviors,
species.
yeah.
Yeah.
In the Chauvet Cave, there's a strong presence of imagination, as well as like these drawings are full of gesture. Like it's sweeping, big gesture. You really get a sense of like movement, which is so cool. Like it's hard to do that even today. So the fact that they were doing this like with a torch is crazy.
And their hands and their spit.
It's
It's
nuts.
gorgeous. I really like
It
the
really
colors.
is.
Like I know they didn't have much choice in color, but I think it's beautiful.
So in addition to animals, humans are depicted as well to an extent. So back in the day, humans were mainly depicted as like anthropomorphic beings and characters, maybe in reference to mythology or spiritual belief, because lots of cave art was made like to depict early myth. So an example I have is the Venus and the Sorcerer in the Chauvet Cave. Do you guys see a human figure in here anywhere?
Yeah, like
If you really
on the
try.
right? Is that the head?
So in the Chauvet Cave, there's this image, the Venus and the Sorcerer, and there's a black triangle, the groin, like a female groin,
Oh.
and then there are two thighs coming down.
I see.
right here, and then but the hips kind of extend up into one, I believe, ox figure, and then to the left it's some kind of lion figure.
Oh.
So it's like kind of human, but also not.
Who figured this out? I want to know.
I know. There's also, we can say like, oh, they definitely meant this, but like none of us were
None
there.
of us know our fucking post-Victorian.
They're doing
damnedest.
their damnedest to use context clues and figure out like just
Love
based on
anthropology.
myth and all of that stuff. But I think it's cool that like,
This could have accompanied like a campfire tale,
yeah.
you know?
So I think that that's very interesting. Also, like, it is kind of curious why there are not a lot of human representations
It is.
in,
Yeah.
because they're doing so much observation of animals. So it's very interesting.
Maybe this was at like a point of like consciousness and realizing what's going on, but not like a lot of self-realization
That makes
because they were
sense.
surviving because they're like, well, I don't care.
They had to like focus on that
Yeah.
instead. That's
They're
what
like,
we're
oh.
meant to focus on.
Right.
You know
They're
what
like,
I mean?
Look at all these things that are around. This is awesome and terrifying and crazy. I don't really care what my hair looks like this morning.
Or like even it might just be like too like an encyclopedia of like what's going on in the world to share
Yeah.
to like the younger people.
Yeah.
To
Like
be
a
like, watch
teaching-
out for that thing. Like, you don't really need to worry about the people. You need to worry about when rhinos are
Right.
facing off like that in this image. Like, don't go near that
Run.
because
Right.
they're So maybe it's something like that.
I wonder if they would go out in the wild with like a little tiny rock and make a premature sketch before they brought it back to the cave for the final version. You know what I mean?
Wind and ice, and they're just walking around
They're
with like,
like,
a pet. What's the word I'm looking for?
Like a sketchbook.
A sketchbook.
Rock.
Yes.
It's like the composition is not quite right.
The lighting
The light
is trash.
They're literally being pelted with hail and
It's a windstorm. They're naked.
oh my
Yeah,
god.
What?
Like the fact that we survived to be where we are right now. Another example of anthropomorphic beings
I love
in
this.
cave art is those found in Esplanade-style polychrome paintings, which means like multicolored paintings that are scattered around northern Arizona and are assumed to be Western Archaic in age.
Wow.
So this is like 4,000 to 2,000 years before present. This style of art consists of elongated and stylized symbols thought to be anthropomorphic figures with very fine lines and very detailed pattern work. Some of these figures even have eyelashes if you zoom in that close. I
Oh
don't
my
know.
God,
Just you can
yeah.
see a little ram right here. So they're doing animal like studies as well. And it looks like these are paintings as well as like scratching and carving
Yeah.
into the
I was
stone.
gonna say, is this like engraved?
I think that
Those kind of look like your collage girls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that these ones on the right are so fun because you can see, I think that there's like 5 figures that are, or 4 of them are like standing upright, and then this guy's upside down. So you can see his little feet, and then down here there's the head. And I'm sure that that means something.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
Because everything like means something, especially if you're going to like carve it into rock. It's like, I don't know.
You gotta think about that.
Yeah.
Or maybe they didn't. Who
Maybe
knows?
maybe it was just for kicks. Maybe they were like,
Maybe he was drawing his friend group, or she was drawing her friend group, and there's one guy that's like, the class clown.
it's like Brian's always going
Yeah.
crazy.
slap that guy upside down.
Brian's gotta be upside
Or maybe it's like
down.
they're dead to the friend
And our
group.
friend group, who is upside down?
It might be Belle.
It might be me. That's okay.
So the creation of art in the Chauvet Cave happened in 2 distinct periods. So one was 37,000 years ago, and the second wave was around like 27,000 years ago, which was practically yesterday in the Gravitian period. So like think Venus of Willendorf was like created
her,
around
yeah.
then. In many cave and wall art systems, artwork is layered over each other to perhaps represent different groups of people moving in and like claiming territory.
Wow.
So it's also a way to mark development in human behavior and observation. In some pieces, you can see earlier pieces peeking out from beneath the new ones, almost like a nod to their creators. So this like kind of reminds me of modern day like street art. Sometimes people have a nod to the original creator, or it's like etiquette
Yeah.
for that kind of thing. So it's neat that early humans were kind of
They
doing
also
that
had
too.
that,
Even
yeah.
though it was like, this is mine now.
It also
Rah.
could have been like a,
Look at that bear
wow,
ear.
we've come so far as a species. We don't know. I'm wondering what their mind was like.
They were like,
What were they thinking? What were their thoughts like? How complex were they?
I don't know.
I feel like they
Were
probably
they just thinking, draw a bear, this is awesome? Or are they like, yes, our species have been around now for thousands and thousands of years.
Well, I think like claiming territory I think that's where my mind goes, is like if a new group of people move in and they have their own like cave art style,
Yeah.
they're like, oh, well, we want people to know that we were here now and
Yeah,
not
yeah.
the old people. So we're going to draw bear now.
For sure. I'm
We
just
draw
wondering
bear.
how deep
We
it
draw
went.
bear now. Yeah, I
wanna
know. And we'll never know.
No.
I feel like they probably were quite they had like our brains at this point in time.
That's rad.
That's so crazy.
This
I'll look
part
that
I
up.
think is actually really cool is that the location of the drawings in the cave were actually very like curated. So in Chauvet, some images are like tucked away in hard to reach places, like these pictures of bears. So they're tucked away so that the only people who would be able to see them would be people who like were physically able and well and also knowledgeable. Like you'd have to know where to go to find these. So they're not for public view. They're for like a select few people to go
Private
and
gallery.
see. Yeah, basically. And that could maybe be like, maybe this is linked to spiritualism in some way. But also it could just be maybe some weird emo guy is like, I want to
Right.
go draw bears in secret.
Yeah,
And now we're like,
Tony's
oh my
by
God.
himself.
Yeah. I had a lot of, I referenced a lot of things that will be linked below. But one of the journals that I was reading had a great quote that said something along the lines of, the animal that is to become food instantly turns into a spiritual ally, a mediator in the spiritual practice embodied in the image. So in these specific cave spaces where it's like hidden and dark compared to the whole outside world, it pushed these animal artworks into something of a sacred thing where human, animal, and nature spirits like existed on the same plane,
Wow.
which is really cool. It's like food for like the literal self and for the imagination. So also in southern France, specifically southwest France, lies the Lascaux cave system. These caves were accidentally discovered during 1940 when a little dog named Robot fell down a hole. His owner, Marcel, who was about 14 at the time, followed his little yips for help and accidentally stumbled upon one of the most magnificent historical discoveries of all time.
Wow.
Holy shit.
It's so Lilo core.
That is so Lilo.
Lilo
core,
would-
and she'd have diarrhea down there.
So Marcel came back up and told 3 of his friends, and the group eventually went down there and explored themselves, which is just crazy to think about. Like, you and your 14-year-old weird friends are like,
Formative
what?
experience.
Yeah. They go and tell a local historian who was a little bit preoccupied with World War II happening everywhere.
Oh.
So the historian was kind of like, you guys go protect this cave. You guys go stand guard.
Stand
And we'll get
guard.
to it when we can. So the boys took this job very seriously. One of them, named Jacques, even set up camp in front of the entrance and stood guard all winter to ward people away, which was actually funny because nobody like knew or cared about these
Right.
cave systems right now. After the war ended, about 8 years after the cave's discovery by these kids, the space was opened to visitors and people started coming in hordes. Yeah, Lascaux is a bit younger than Chauvet, though the systems are compared to each other all of the time since they're from a similar region. These were created towards the end of the Ice Age, so the Magdalenian culture. They're using tools, they're engraving on the tools.
Wow.
I love an engraved tool.
People would set blades into bone and antler to use in daily tasks,
Ugh.
and they were also very artistically progressive. So this complex of caves has so many cool passages and areas with incredible names, and I'm going to list a few. So there's the Hall of Bulls, the Passage Gallery, the Shaft of the Dead Man, the Chamber of Engravings, and the Chamber of Felines.
Wow.
So they kept it. They were like, we have rooms for that.
This is our dining. This is the feline room, and then if you go to the hallway, you'll see our wall of bulls, and like blah, blah, like it's very curated.
the kids sleep in the owl.
The Shaft of the Dead
The
Man.
shaft of the dead man to remember their past.
And to look to their future.
Similar to the Chauvet cave, a plethora of animals were painted using material pigments, or they were carved into the stone. The biggest animal in cave art, allegedly, resides there, a bull 17 feet long.
Holy shit.
Which is, why does it need to be that big? But
Big
okay.
bull.
Is he that big IRL, or are they like
I'm gonna guess yes, just for fun.
just for
I
fun?
think.
Yeah.
Well, oh yeah, I mean,
a giant 17
we draw
foot long
from
bull?
life, right?
Right.
No, period.
Only.
Come on. The shaft scene is something that I think is really cool. It's one of the
Ooh.
earliest instances of a hunting scene in European cave art. So an anthropomorphic character with a bird head,
I don't like it.
an anthropomorphic character with a bird head who some scholars claim is a shaman, which is like a medicine healer person linked to spirituality, is sandwiched between a rhino and a bison. The bison has been cut with the shaman's spear, and its intestines are rendered falling out of the gash. This painting captures the moment between life and death for both the bison and the shaman, who is stuck in a precarious predicament. And this is cool because even though it's like, you know, rendered as a like early human rendering, it's still showing that we now are taking into consideration like the intestinal like the insides.
Yeah, we understand. We see that.
Yeah, like we're seeing it. We kind
That
of
is
understand.
dying.
If it falls out, then we are
Then
dead.
bye-bye. Yeah.
Brain surgeons,
Basically. Medical illustration. The rhino, on the other hand, to the left, is painted with dung dots all around it.
That's what that is?
Yeah. And scholars have studied this very vigorously, which I think is funny because they're like, what is the
Studying
purpose?
that poop, yeah.
How do you know that's a rhino? I'm so sorry.
I think it's these like shapes on the other
Oh.
end. Yeah, and this is the tail.
Tail lifted up, ready to defecate.
Now I
Yes.
see the shit.
Yes. Can't miss it once you see it.
What is that in between the shaman and the two rhinos that looks like a ball sack on a stick?
I think that it's a tool or like a staff or something that might allude to the shamanistic attributes of the
makes sense.
character. So yeah, scholars think that it's very wonderful that early humans paid so much attention to the gastrointestinal physiology in early human artwork, which is really fun.
Guts and poop.
Guts and poop indeed galore. So jumping back once again, this time earlier than we've ever been probably, and maybe we'll ever go, 73,000 years ago.
Oh my God.
We find ourselves in South Africa. Blombos Cave, 185 miles of Cape Town, served as a place of refuge for traveling groups of hunter-gatherers.
How much of Cape Town?
185 miles east of Cape Town.
Oh, I thought you said of, like underneath it.
Artifacts left by these traveling humans were sealed within this small cave after it closed 70,000 years ago. What some claim to be humanity's oldest known drawing was discovered in 2011 on a flake of stone during an archaeological expedition. And it's just like this little cross-hatching pattern-like carving in this little rock. I think it's considered the first drawing because we didn't have to do this.
Right.
But we did it anyway. And it's sort of just an example of hand to eye
Someone was like,
exercise.
this would look nice right here.
Yes, so this and many other early rock artworks are attributed to the San culture of South Africa. So the San are descendants from nomadic hunter-gatherer groups who lived and traveled in what we now know as Namibia, Botswana, and northern South Africa. San is a collective term for several indigenous groups, including the Kung, the Gwi, and the Naro tribes. San rock art dates all the way back to the earliest drawing ever, or so historians claim. There are more recent discoveries such as the Ukulamba Drakensberg Park rock art that dates back only 3,000 years. Way back when, they used paint made from yellow and red ochre, charcoal mixed with eland blood, or animal fat to create rock art. Art making was an act inherently linked to their spiritual beliefs, which was shamanistic at its core. Well, like we said, like there's several indigenous groups, each with different specific like spiritual beliefs, but they were all kind of linked in this way where they thought that the rock surface was like a veil between the real and spirit worlds, and like pulling images out from the rock surface was like an engaging process between the two spaces.
Oh my God.
So it's like a way to manifest like story, and like it was very like a sacred thing.
It's so beautiful.
The eland, the largest antelope in the world, is one of the most important figures in San belief. In paintings and engravings, the eland is often painted in dead or dying poses. Since the eland is viewed as God's favorite and is linked with the supernatural, it is believed that through death, this energy within them is released and then harnessed by the San people. Like we said before, like the San people also represent shaman, which are like medicinal and spiritual healers a lot in their work alongside the eland. There's also a lot of visual cues that call attention to various aspects of myth and storytelling throughout rock art. So pictured in some San works are imagery of animals or anthropomorphic humans bleeding from their noses, which symbolizes the ritual or spiritual death of a healer in the spiritual realm. It could also be read as like being in a complete trance state, so like reaching a different state of being. Figures with feathered wings might also represent an altered state of consciousness, which also refers to that space between life and another realm or perhaps death. Rock art also documented culture shifts in human development. So as colonization gripped southern Africa, more images of firearms began to be present in the work to announce the arrival of Europeans in the mid-18th century.
Whoa.
However, scholars have unveiled another read to the presence of firearms in San rock art. It can be argued that the humans depicted with guns in these paintings are the San people themselves, and that the paintings reveal like a deeper integration of material culture into their own magical and spiritual practices. So many San people owned their own firearms but did not not adopt the European culture around them.
Oh.
Instead, the imagery of firearms might have appeared in rock art disconnected from Europeans entirely. So again, it's kind of hard to like pin down exactly what each rock piece was like telling us. I'm sure that it was like a bit of both, but it is cool. Like, we shouldn't say like, oh, there's a gun, so therefore it's about Europeans. Like it's not like just because Europeans are there doesn't mean that like that became the whole
narrative completely.
Yeah. Rock art throughout time has been an example of the ideology of their creators, handling themes of mythology, religion, spiritualism, day-to-day life, and cultural development. Not only cultural development, but the Earth's development. Serranía de la Lindosa in northwest Colombia is sometimes referred to as the painted rainforest and is a cliff face stretching 8 miles throughout the landscape, covered in over tens of thousands of painted images. Symbols and paintings are layered over each other to the point where some areas are washed out completely in a blur of red ochre.
What's ochre?
Ochre, it's like a pigment, so it's like iron oxide.
Ochre is just the art term for it. I was going to say it looks like iron, but I don't want to be stupid in case it's like some flower.
No, you're right. Again, these images primarily depict animal life, so some species are recognizable, but others are up for interpretation. Some are possibly renditions of long extinct animals, like the giant ground sloth or other megafauna. So this is like potentially a giant ground sloth that we
definitely
no longer have. There are also potential mastodons, which are elephantine, inferred through their like head shapes and prehensile trunks. So like lots of people using shape language to try and in hindsight place the animals within the groups. There's an extinct South American horse potentially, and the camelid, which is a group that evolved into llamas and vicuñas.
How long ago was this?
We don't know the exact age of these paintings, but we do know that they've been around for over 12,000 years.
Wow.
So the paintings at La Lindosa are used as cultural storytelling like all rock art is, but it's an example. I thought this one was very like connected to the Earth specifically. It's a really good example of humanity coexisting with the rainforest and achieving ecological balance. And like
this one is crazy because it's not in a cave, right?
Yeah.
No.
It's out in the rainforest.
How's it still there?
How's it
Great
not
question.
erosion?
Like iron deposits, like come and go. They are very soluble in water. I do not know how that's still there.
I'm sure that there's like a reason.
Yeah.
Because they're still around.
I'm so curious. It's so cool.
Isn't that so cool?
Imagine finding that.
That's
Like,
crazy.
Coming to a clearing and there's just ancient art up a fucking rock wall. I would have lost my mind.
It's just so insane how like some culture you see a lot of like pattern work and like symbols relating to story and like used to depict animal or things, and then other things are more representational. And it's just like it's so cool how even back then like the cultural differences being passed down throughout generations, like I don't know, the bleeding from that into modern day cultural art is so
interesting,
so cool.
And also connections across cultures is really interesting, like the types of scenes that they depicted and the way that they depicted humans and the choice of subject matter being animals and humans and activities and behaviors. Very interesting that this was consistent throughout the world.
Throughout the whole world. Yeah,
it's insane.
It's like animals and animal behavior and then myth.
I love the way that they do people.
It's so neat.
So
cool.
interesting because everything else is pretty well done. And then the people are like weird little guys.
Yeah, the people, we're still trying to figure ourselves out.
Right.
We don't
I
know
love it.
what we're about. So, as most things go, humankind and industry have done their due diligence to worsen the status of cave art around the world.
Yes.
A lot of these precious sites are protected through the Federal Cave Resources Protection Act of 1988 and similar ones ranging from state to state, country to country, and continent to continent. However, some situations are far too tricky to fix this late in the game. The Lascaux cave paintings, which we discussed earlier, so the one that the little dog fell down the hole and found, they suffered a lot of destruction due to overwhelming tourism after the end of World War II. So the community tried to install an air conditioning system within the caves.
Are you kidding me?
Nope. As well as high-powered lights.
Right.
And like a cave system kind of acts like, not like a human, but it's like its own organism.
Yeah.
That like self-regulates. So when you incorporate all of these weird factors,
disrupting the ecosystem of it.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Like the conditions that kept it preserved for as
Air
long as it's been.
conditioner?
An air conditioner.
It's nuts. Yeah.
In a cave,
Imagine
an air conditioner outside.
You're like, oh, I really want to go see that, like, millennium-old cave art. But, you know, it's a little warm.
It's like
It's a little warm.
I'm sweaty.
Well, I think that they incorporated the air conditioning system to combat the flood of like body heat from all
Okay,
of the
fair.
tourists,
Okay.
which like
Okay.
not
But
Not
like
better.
It's like kind of maybe just limit the amount of tourism or like
like
something
one
like there's
person
other
at a time or something.
Yeah. So the flood of body heat and the carbon dioxide led to a presence of black mold and fungus within the caves. So in 2008, the cave was permanently closed to the public to try and salvage the space. The inside of the cave, it's still trying to like maintain and achieve homeostasis again, I believe. But in the meantime, right next to the original cave, the French government built an exact replica of the caves for visitation and tourist purposes. So it's kind of just, it's like
above ground.
yes, it's like an above ground.
I guess that's better than, like,
I guess.
I guess, but it's still kind of like giving me a headache.
How do we go from beautiful, magnificent, state-of-the-art cave art, you know, someone finally putting hand to rock and being like, this is a tiger.
Something.
It killed my brother yesterday, and it's beautiful, to we're going to build a cave. It's going to be next door because you can't go in the other one.
$15 entry
$15 entry
30
fee,
maybe.
30 for people with kids.
Honestly.
And then the cave next door, you can't go in it. Want to know why? You ruined it.
Thank you.
Black
And that's
mold.
on you.
That's on you. Now you got to go in the fake one.
You gotta
We
pay.
built it. We spend money
And
on
you have
it.
to pay.
Taxpayer money on it.
Yeah.
Wow, that is crazy. That just ruined my mood.
Crazy. Well,
ruined my
yeah.
mood.
Other sites too
Turtle.
are not outwardly not so
Turtle.
turtle. Other sites were there's a turtle on the screen. Other sites are not so outwardly cherished. In the Burrup Peninsula in Australia, petroglyphs, which is another word for like rock carvings, numbering over 1 million
Huh?
have been discovered.
Oh my god.
1 million.
Gotta
1
get my
million?
hands on one of those.
Oh wow, stay
A
with
little
the
souvenir. Little
Put it in my
souvenir.
living room for the kids to see.
Nice.
It's nice.
It'll
It
look
goes
nice
with the
there.
bowls. I got the bowls.
It
at
goes with my
Marshall's.
beer, my beer painting up in the
I
corner.
got the beer. I got the turtle from Australia. Wait, where is this?
This is Australia.
Australia. I
So,
went for my mom.
so these are like over 1 million different images of like wildlife. What some think is the first depiction of a human face.
Yes,
Oh.
I
is
was
in
actually
these
going to ask you about
petroglyphs.
that.
Yes.
I was like,
where
when
is
do you think
it?
is the first actual face done?
People think it's this.
There he is.
It's like, there's our guy.
I feel like that's an
So-
L, but all right.
Mayhaps, you know.
I don't got a lot to say about that.
I think it's that.
I mean,
Unsure.
it's giving first depiction of a human face. Still confused why they haven't figured it out yet. I don't get it because they can literally paint animals so well.
Maybe they're like, why would I paint somebody a person?
There was just something going on with painting human. Like
I know.
people just didn't like it. Like maybe it was just too weird.
They're
Like
like,
maybe it was.
But I think it's so global that nobody wants to paint.
Nobody
a human face,
wants
and
to.
now
That's
we're obsessed with our
so-
faces.
That's so interesting.
now it's all that we paint.
Yeah.
Because
Wow, we should do a whole episode on that.
We
Like the
should, yeah.
evolution of human portraiture. So these images serve as an artistic encyclopedia for human and environmental evolution. This site, as well as the historic Yukon Gorge, rests in the Pilbara in Western Australia, which is home to many a multi-billion-dollar industry. This area is one of natural gas, iron ore, and salt. In 2020, Rio Tinto, which was in 2022 the second biggest mining company in the world, destroyed the 46,000-year-old Aboriginal rock art shelter Yukon Gorge in favor of expanding their iron ore project. Benjamin Smith, a professor of rock art at University of Western Australia, says, "This art also has a longer sequence than any of these other sites, extending from recent times back at least 40,000 years, probably 50,000 years."
Oh my god.
As of 2022, researchers have only cataloged a whopping 3% of the total area, which amounts to 50,000 images. Smith says there could be up to 2 million petroglyphs in total. In these images lie stories from Aboriginal culture and beliefs. When giant trunks of rock are either destroyed or moved, which is essentially like destroying it because it's removing the work from its original context and like jeopardizing the
Yeah,
piece.
absolutely.
Pieces of Aboriginal culture are lost as well.
My jaw's just dropped since you began that sentence. I don't
Me
even know
too.
what to say.
Like, think about all of the, like, it's not just here's an animal, but it's like the
Time.
ancient culture and myth. Like,
Yeah.
I was reading these articles. It was very complex because people were like, we want to protect these rocks under this specific act of like ancient beings. But then current Aboriginal people and indigenous groups were like, well, we're not ancient. We're still around.
Yeah.
So like it's like very
It's like
complicated.
a part of their history.
Yeah.
Their
it's-
culture.
So it's like we need to find a better way to
Completely.
like,
Like, oh, we're
I
going
don't
to
know.
take it, actually. Thank you. Like, what do you mean?
It's just insane.
I don't even know what to say.
It's just so sad. And I have this one image. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, yeah. This one's crazy because it's like
Turtle.
this right here, but then like all of this industry over here. So it's kind of like the two.
Ooh, yeah.
It's like we're living side by side to like the most ancient way of being and representing humanity and then our current state of being. And it's like.
Boo.
Anyway, we're not here to be existential, even though that is very, very sad. So, though rock art feels eons away, cultures and artists still practice and are influenced by different forms, like throughout history. The dots in Chauvet's cave system inspired Seurat's pointillism techniques, which is
Whoa.
pretty cool.
That's so swanky.
Swanky. Yes,
Swanky.
swanky.
On a visit to the Lascaux caves, Picasso is quoted as saying, "They invented everything," and later went on to create sketches inspired by the ancient works, which I'll find. I was
Wow.
trying to find them, I couldn't. Even our own dear little Basquiat, in his own neo-expressionist language, referenced the origins of human art in his stick-figured bodies and anthropomorphic characters.
Yes.
It's so nice.
I love him.
That was good.
It's just sweet. It's very much like a homage to it. It's not like a making fun
Like
of
a rip-off,
prehistoric. He's just like,
No,
this
and
is gorgeous.
I think that a lot of it is even like subconscious too, where
Yeah.
it's not like I'm trying to be this specifically, but it's like, I don't know,
It's just
taking little
natural.
inspirations.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially for him because his happened so organically.
Mhm.
So artists like Russell Scott, Pippa Scottness, and Malcolm Payne still reference San imagery and beliefs of the Eland in their contemporary works. So these are from Pippa Scottness and Malcolm Payne. They're using Eland bones and they're inscribing like stories from myth into them. And they were at this
Oh,
like,
wow.
yes. So people are still taking inspiration from old art to this day. And some cultures are actually still performing rock art, and we see it like in murals too. Like street art, rock art, public art is still happening. There's one that I want to talk about, which I think is so nice and exciting, called Sohrai art, found in the Hazaribagh region of Jharkhand, India. It's a traditional indigenous art form practiced typically by women, and it is known as harvest art because it's celebrating a cattle festival held twice a year called the Sohrai Harvest Festival. It's a way to like celebrate agriculture and cattle and like all that it means to the community. Paint, again, like used from minerals, smushed up and then painted on mud walls. And they'll do this twice a year. They prepare the mud walls with soils, cow dung, husk, and water before paint is layered over. And again, it's cool because every community has a different approach to wall painting, so no two styles are the same. An Agaria tribal community uses stencil styles to symbolize Lord Shiva as a leaf with arms, where women of the Kurmi community from Bilhwara village use intricate mark-making styles to depict Kamlaban, the tree of life. As most wall art does, these works tie back to religion and spiritual beliefs as a reflection of culture. Sohrai art also has inspired works in other materials such as textiles. In Ladara embroidery, old cloth is sewn into beautiful new quilts with similar visual motifs. So this extends from like, you know, different application techniques
It's
and
like across
it's like a
media.
cultural practice.
Yeah,
it's not just about
completely.
it's cool.
It's a visual language.
Yes, visual culture.
Visual art, art history.
Gilded Eye podcast. So when the festivals are over, anthropomorphic figures and animal paintings are left to fade away naturally over time until it's time to repaint the walls, which
That's
is just
beautiful.
so beautiful.
So nice. I really, really, really like the lines.
I know the patterns are like
Yeah.
incredible.
They're so like meticulous, symmetrical,
Look at
but
that.
so dynamic too. I love it.
It feels like a celebration.
Absolutely.
Like this specifically, like Sohrai art feels so celebratory in the mark making and the patterns and the colors. Like the colors, I believe, are just limited to like red and yellow ochre and then gypsum, which is the white pigment, and black. So it's like very striking, very colorful.
Yeah. Now that central figure is Lilo.
That is
For
definitely
real.
Lilo.
Wow.
Like, look at the way the animals are depicted are so fun.
Yeah.
Like, they're
It's
just so
clean.
great.
Look how like someone did that with one brush stroke and they said, or hand stroke, whatever it was, and they said, yep. Like, oh my God.
It's like insane. So, cave art and rock art as a whole was a means of expressing humanity, as we discussed, humanity in relation to each other, to our cultural practices, our spiritual beliefs, and the environment around us. It served as a link between us and the natural world, and it defined humanity as a culture of creatives, of observers, of people who rely on the natural world to survive. And we still do. And that's why we need to protect it and prioritize means of protecting it to celebrate and nourish the earth, our very first canvas.
Wow. That was good.
That was so good.
That was
Oh my
good.
gosh.
So again, like we could do 8,000 episodes.
We really
Yeah.
could.
Like we could pick one image in rock art and do an entire like 2-hour like
In-depth
depiction of like everything that it represents and means.
But you did such a good job of covering so much ground.
I got
This
so excited because
This
I
is
was
so good.
I was doing my Google Arts and Culture deep dive and I kept finding cool articles and I was like, that's cool too, and that's cool.
Yeah.
And then I would find articles jumping off of that as reference, and it was just so fun. And so we
It's
should
so
definitely
fun to
do
do
more
research
because
like
it's
that.
like we have so endless resources of cool old
Yeah.
art.
And so much time to cover.
Oh my
Because there's
gosh,
like
yeah.
what?
What? 100,000 years or something
100,000
like
years
that?
of time. That is so cool.
So tag yourself prehistoric art animal edition. What animal would you be in old rock art?
The
I'm-
pooping rhino.
Damn it. I guess I'm the dead ox then.
I'm the shaman who's killed Belle.
Because I want to
I'm
be
the one
pooping
haphazardly pooping right next to you.
Lilo. That's because that's
Lilo. That is
Lilo for real.
Lilo is Myra's troubled gastrointestinal animal.
Gastrointestinally challenged
Yes.
young lady who is a dog named
I
Lilo.
would
A
hesitate
child.
to call her a dog, to be
Yeah.
honest.
That is true.
It's a creature that lives in her
That's
house.
a creature gremlin. Anyway, thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening.
Go
you so
observe
much.
your natural world. Get off your damn phone.
Yeah.
Put down YouTube Shorts and go take a stick
Why
to the
YouTube
wall.
Shorts?
Are you on YouTube Shorts more
you-
than we think?
Yes.
Are they an advertiser that you didn't tell us about? Like, do
And
you
I'm
have
pocketing all the loot.
you pocketing some YouTube Shorts?
YouTube Shorts if you want to sponsor me.
Us.
No, just Myra.
Just me. Just me.
Myra. Who do I want to sponsor me?
Follow us on everything. We're Gilded Eye Podcast. If you have
Yep.
episode recommendations, you can email us.
Please
We've
let us
gotten some
know.
cool emails, so thank you.
Thank
Shout out
you.
We
to
got
my
another
cousin.
one. We got a cool shout out to Belle's cousin.
Wait, what was the other email though?
It was like it was a really nice email recommending some cool stories about stuff, and we appreciate it. And so we will see you next time.
Yes.
We will
Love you.
love you.
Love you indeed.
TTYLXOX.
Okay, bye.